Hi, my name is Heather Foster. I'm a marketing manager and a type 1 diabetic. I am married. I've been married for 11 years and I have a 4.5-year-old. Normally it's genetics that you get type 1 diabetes from, but I happened to get it late and I was 23 when I was diagnosed, so it was kind of a rare thing to happen. I guess you can get it all the way till you're like 25 years old. And typically it happens when you're a baby to a toddler, but for me it happened late. So type 1 diabetes is actually juvenile diabetes. It's also considered insulin-dependent diabetes. And then type 2 is considered adult onset diabetes, and typically you get it because you're overweight or just something's not working right in your body. It's a little bit of genetics, whereas type 1 is actually more genetics. You usually get it from the mother, the father, or a grandparent. The first time that I realized that I had something going on, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know anything about diabetes. I was actually sitting in my college class, and I noticed I kept having to get up to go to the bathroom all the time. And I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew that something was going on with my body. A month before I was diagnosed, I started having a lot of dehydration issues. I noticed I was drinking a lot of water. I was going to the bathroom all the time. The back of my throat was really dry. When I walked toward the end, I was noticing it was like hard for me to walk. I would actually drag my leg a little bit because I was lacking potassium. I had been, basically watching my health and eating right, and so I noticed I was losing a lot of weight. I lost about 20 pounds, so that was pretty crazy for me. Within probably a month's time, I lost that much weight, and I was really skinny. And I remember my mom saying, "Heather, are you feeling okay? Because you look a little pale." And I basically was like, "Oh, I'm just on, a really good diet and it's working really well." And I didn't want to listen to her at all because I just thought she was being a concerned mom for no reason. So there was a lot of signs that I had that basically made me start to question what was going on. So then I went to my doctor and I had some lab work done. And unfortunately, it took them like 2 weeks to get the blood results back. And now I've learned that if you prick your finger with a blood sugar meter, that you can find out what your blood sugar is right then. And I wish I had known that because by the time I got my blood work back, the nurse called me and was freaking out on the phone saying, "You need to get in now, your blood work is crazy," which just scared me because I was sitting at home and had no idea what she meant by your blood work is crazy. So needless to say, my blood work at that time, my number was, I think, 520, and 600 is a coma. So the time that they checked it, I had just eaten like a hamburger and I had a soda or something, and it wasn't anything that crazy for most people. But that was what spiked my blood sugar then. 2 weeks later, they get me the blood results and I go in and I get my work done. I noticed I couldn't hear good. I couldn't see good, and there was a lot of just senses that were really messed up. So I ended up in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 4 days. And I had like 4 or 5 different IVs hooked up to me trying to get all the stuff back into my system. And I remember within about probably 12 hours of being in the hospital, I could hear better and I could see better because my blood sugars were finally coming back down. So I had to learn overnight how to give myself shots, how to take my blood sugar. They were pricking my finger, I think it was every half an hour to see what my blood sugar was, trying to get it back down. And that's sort of how I was diagnosed. I remember coming home and I wasn't really given much except for some really outdated books on diabetes, and unfortunately the doctors weren't very good at educating me. So I had to learn exactly what raised my blood sugar, which I found out was carbs and sugar. They had me on like a 1,600 calorie diet. And I wasn't exactly sure at that point was bad for me because I was told like everything with a diabetic, you have to eat right, you have to be, eat healthy so that your blood sugars stay solid. So I was literally eating like toast with no butter on it and like no deli meats, and I had no idea what I was doing. So basically, I started at that point, and then I started researching, because you have to become your own advocate when you're a type 1 diabetic. So basically, you have to eat healthy, and you have to take your blood sugars all the time and exercise, and do your own research. So you definitely want to educate yourself when you're a type 1 diabetic, because basically you're the one that's there every day. So you can see what your blood sugars are, you can feel it. So if you're lowering or you're getting higher, usually you can tell, because you get hypoglycemic, which means you get shaky, and you feel like you're sick and you need to eat something right then because you need sugar. Or you get hyperglycemic, which is the opposite, and you get too high of blood sugars because maybe you ate too much for your meal and you didn't take enough insulin. So you are always trying to find a balance in your own body, and everybody's different. I would say if somebody was brand new, probably as a type 1 diabetic, to check your blood sugars often, and to exercise, and to eat right, and to just read a lot, research a lot, educate yourself, because you're kind of your own advocate at this point. And as far as type 2 goes, kind of the same thing. I have a lot of family members that have come to me because they're like, oh, you have this scary diabetes, you have the permanent one, I want to learn more from you. What can I do? So typically I say things like, eat a lot of protein in between your meals, eat a lot of fiber, exercise so that your blood stays moving, because it's very easy for type 1 and type 2 diabetics to go blind in the future from being hypoglycemic. Also, you can have kidney problems, heart problems. It's called the silent killer. So a lot of people die from diabetes-related illnesses or injuries. So it's basically just taking care of yourself, monitoring, going to the doctors as much as you can, and making sure you're taking care of yourself, and making sure there's somebody there that can help you too, because sometimes you just need somebody to talk to because you forget. So it's good to just keep on top of it.